Hello, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me in another of my monologues. Today, I want to talk just a bit about being cancelled. Yesterday, went down to a place called Langport and met up with some very lovely people at an off-grid community, which was really, really interesting to see how everything had been set up off-grid, away from the system and out of the system. And the gentleman who runs it, called Kevin, had been there for 20 years. Now, had a fleeting conversation with him about it, but it is very much the sort of thing that Julia and I would like to do, and I'm sure many other people want to be disconnected from the system, reliant on themselves, take back responsibility for the things that they eat and the way that they live, without the restrictive nature of authority forever squeezing. And it was great to see the relaxed atmosphere. Now, this was an event that was originally going to happen in Glastonbury, but Glastonbury Town Council decided no, they weren't going to allow truth speakers to speak, because they were worried that this would cause some form of insurrection or something, that the truth mustn't get out. And so the town hall venue was cancelled. Sandy Adams, Clive de Carl and myself were not permitted to talk. So the organiser, Roseanne, found another venue in a church hall, and they were quite happy to take us on. And then phone calls and various things took place, behind the scenes, and said, oh, you better not have that. I don't know whether there were threats or what there was, but arm twisting went on to say that you shouldn't have these terrible people talking to ordinary people, that ordinary people must not hear this message. Censorship is what it is, of course. And so it was cancelled again, right at the last minute. And so this event, which is, nothing really terribly, what can I say, that's going to change the world. It's just information, opinion, and all of that, and a gathering of like-minded people who are interested in the benefit of everybody in the world, not just themselves and a nuclear of, it's us against everybody else. It was like, we just want to help the world get back to some normality, rather than the oppression that we see it being taken down, that path of oppression. So anyway, so the second venue cancelled it. So that's two venues that cancelled it. And in the end, Roseanne managed to find this chap, Kevin, who said, no, I'm more than happy to put it on. I'm on your side. And so it went ahead. And yesterday I went down there to do a talk. Now, I was unfortunate that I couldn't stay there very long, because we had to get back because for, reasons really I won't need to go into, but to do with Julia's children and what have you. So we had to get back, and I missed the rest of the event. So, but I just wanted to say it was very lovely to meet all the wonderful people down there, and have the privilege to talk to you all for an hour as part of that. And it was very successful, and thank you very much to those. And I wanted to reflect the nature of this sort of thing, because lots of people have been cancelled, and we all know somebody at events that have been going on over the last 5 years. Marches, of course, have been stopped. Police have overthrown their powers, and we know that there's been all of this going on. And in my book Biggleswick, The Town That Wouldn't Comply, I wanted to reflect this. And in the story, there's a truth teller, I suppose, that comes to town, a sort of Pied Piper type character, I guess you might have him. And he kind of represents all the truth tellers that we have, that are there, who understand how the law and lawfulness works, the legal side of things, health and various other things. And I didn't want to get millions of these guys, of which, of course, the world is full of people who have the truth to divulge. So in the story, I just had to have one guy who is this truth teller, and he's booked. The flyer is up. People are booking the tickets, And then there's a question about, well, hang on a minute, what is he talking about? Should we have him there? And I wanted to reflect, and I thought I'd just read a little bit. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to do this all the time. I don't want this to turn into me reading bits of my book, because, you know, I just think that's not the done thing. I want you to enjoy it. But I just thought this would be quite fun to reflect that, seeing as we'd been to this business in Glastonbury. And of course, it's happening all over the place. So this is there's a committee meeting at the town hall in Biggleswick. The mayor, Todd Telling, has gathered everybody in, and they're going through a whole number of other things, including things like 5G, solar panels, various things that they're trying to push through on the people of Biggleswick. And that all sort of unfolds. And then when they get to the end of that meeting, it says, another hour of lesser contentious motions followed until one of the councillors raised the point about the forthcoming talk at the clubhouse. And then the mayor picks up where we go. Have we not advised that this should not go ahead? The mayor asked. A flyer for the event, depicting the theatrical-looking truth-teller and his intention of revealing secrets of a lawful nature, had been passed from department to department, and no one wanted to handle it. Free speech was a tricky subject and raised hackles more times than not. During the COVID pandemic, a number of events had to be shut down by the council, for it went against the official narrative and was thought too dangerous to be allowed to proceed. London had seen marches and protests with vast numbers of citizens taking to the streets, although mainstream media had played these down or decided not to broadcast them. It wasn't clear what the truth-teller's talk was really about, and Leslie Davison's, the town's entertainment officer, a tweedy woman in twinset and pearls, reported on the situation. Lucy Frobisher has complained about the decision not to allow the speaker to go ahead at the venue. 70% of the tickets have already been sold, and she claims that without a genuine cause for cancelling the event, it would reflect badly on the council. The Biggleswick News has run a feature on its potential censorship, and I do tend to think at this time, with all the difficult policies that we have to implement, it might be advisable to let this one run. The mayor eyed the members of the council present to ascertain the feeling of the room, noting empty teacups and plates speckled in crumbs. The meeting had gone on long enough, and with snacks devoured, the councillors would be eager to return to their respective offices to munch on chocolate bars and packets of crisps they kept secretly in their drawers. Does anyone know who this truth-teller is, or what exactly he talks about? I do, a voice from the end of the table piped up. Todd Telling turned to the historian fellow who had spoken before. And in the meeting earlier, there was a historian fellow who sort of was a bit of a thorn in the side of the meeting. So he's just piped up, and he's got a rather grotesque hairdo, just as reference. And John Peterson gave a weak smile now that everyone was focused on him again. I was on holiday in Cornwall. Yes. I saw a poster similar to this one, and I thought it sounded quite an interesting evening. I don't go to theatre shows as a rule. Well, it wasn't too expensive, and I thought the individual might give some information on the history of the tannery courts. I've got quite a fascination with the miners and how they managed to get on with it, the mayor bellowed, his head beginning to pound from the indulgence of sugary cakes. Yes, well, it was a curious show, not exactly a comedy, although there were comedic elements to it. And please, Mr. History Man, will you get to the point? These good people you see before you have departments to run here, in the here and now, and we don't need a rundown of your thespian preferences. Peterson squirmed in his chair, trying to remember just what the point was he wanted to make. Sorry, yes, of course, he stammered. The speaker talks for a couple of hours and then goes through a range of hugely fascinating subjects, but critically what he mostly talks about is... Now, what is it called? Get on with it, man, we are waiting. The mayor couldn't bear the suspense any further. Well, to put it simply, croaked the historian, he speaks of the truth. A silence followed that stunning revelation, with all eyes transfixed on the man at the end of the table. What exactly does that mean? The truth? We gleaned that from the flyer. What we want to know is the truth of what? There was another pause while the man with the hideous fringe took a brief sip of water. I'm not really sure, to be honest. I didn't really understand what he was getting at. Mayor Todd Telling took a large intake of breath, making a mental note to strike this idiot off the committee invite list in the future. Was this chap divulging state secrets? John Peterson replied that he didn't think so, although he admitted that the speaker mentioned that what he did speak of, the authorities didn't want ordinary people to know about. And what did he talk about that he said the authorities didn't want ordinary people to know about? And please get to the point, this is really most aggravating. The historian made another stab to explain. It had something to do with dead entities and legal fictions, I think. He mentioned the birth certificate a few times and referred to legislation quite often. The birth certificate is hardly a secret, is it, Miss Kramer? The mayor directed his attention to the woman at his side, partly because he was fed up with looking at the pale twit with the Beatles haircut, and partly because she had a wristwatch, and he was keen to see how much of the day was wasted engaging with the man at the end of the table. Miss Kramer shook her head regarding the question about birth certificates. So, is it in your opinion that this truth-telling nutcase is fairly harmless, spouting nonsense that's already in the public domain, and anyone foolish enough to attend his talk deserves to lose whatever extortionate fee he's charging to listen to his ramblings? Is that it? The historian felt cornered and compelled to agree. Well, I don't think we need concern ourselves with such trifles then, ladies and gentlemen, and therefore, if that's the end of official business, I would like to draw this meeting to a close. And so, anyway, I just thought I would share that little moment of hilarity. I put in some sort of humorous moments, I suppose, but to draw people in, because I want the book not only aimed at you lot, who are in the know and know about these things and can go through it and go, oh yes, that's interesting, he's managed to put that in. But also if as perhaps a gift for those who are not yet awake, who will think, well, that's interesting, a truth teller talking about what's interesting about the birth certificate then. Is that a secret? Is there something connected with that? And of course later on he goes to reveal that the birth certificate has that phrase on it, that this document is not to be used as evidence. And so therefore you make your conclusion, if the birth certificate is not to be used as evidence of identity, what the hell is it doing in our lives? And why does everything revert back to a document that cannot be proved as evidence of identity? And so, you know, we start to sort of put these little pieces into the story and slowly weave what hopefully people, particularly those that are unsure about what's going on, some knowledge, I guess, through fiction, through a story, that ultimately they can go, well, it's got to be made up, isn't it? Until they start to realise that perhaps it's not as fictitious as it seems, maybe. Anyway, there we are. I hope that was interesting. I promise not to keep reading bits from the book. They will be going off to the proofreaders to go through and find fault with everything that I've written as much as possible, and then slowly we'll get this out, and I do hope to have it out plenty of time before Christmas, so that people can buy it and enjoy it and maybe use it as a gift or something and help to wake people up. Till next time, thanks for watching. Bye for now.